The world in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom in London. The US is the most recent country to ground Boeing MAX 8 and 9 jets following Sunday's crash in Ethiopia. President Donald Trump made a statement after being pressured by officials to halt all flights.
We're going to be issuing an emergency order of prohibition to ground all flights of the 737 MAX 8 and the 737 MAX 9 and planes associated with that line. I've spoken to Elaine Chao, Secretary of Transportation, Dan Elwell, Acting Administrator of the FAA, and to Dennis Muhlenberg, CEO of Boeing, and they'll be available shortly after our conference today. They are all in agreement with the action.
Tributes are being made all over the world, with French President Emmanuel Macron leading a 1-minute silence for the 157 people who lost their lives.
French, Canadian, Ethiopians, Kenyans, a lot of nations, and a lot of these people were involved in this fight. And if you allow me, I want first to have a thought for them and present my condolences, and perhaps to have all together a minute of silence for all of them and these losses.
The aircraft's black boxes are in Paris with the Bureau of Inquiry and Analysis for Civil Aviation Safety, who will be investigating further. Britain's short-term economic growth is forecast to decline as Brexit uncertainty continues. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Philip Hammond, claims there is a cloud of uncertainty over the UK, but he maintained the British economy has remained robust and has defied expectations.
We're going to ask for a short extension to the end of June, but of course there's no guarantee that the European Union will agree to that. As the Prime Minister said yesterday, the European Union has signalled that it will agree a short extension if we've reached agreement on a deal, and we simply need time to legislate for it.
MPs rejected a no-deal Brexit in the UK Parliament this week, limiting Theresa May's negotiation with the European Union. The unpredictability over Brexit could damage the country's political and economic stability. Beto O'Rourke, the Texan who gained a national following after his election battle against US Senator Ted Cruz last year, will seek the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination.
Amy and I are happy to share with you that I'm running to serve you as the next President of the United States of America. This is a defining moment of truth for this country and for every single one of us.
I am ready to win this with you. Thank you, El Paso. Very, very grateful. Let's go out there and do this. Thank you.
Last year, O'Rourke managed to gain supporters but lost the race by less than 3% against Cruz, a Republican, in the mainly conservative Texas. Early opinion polls on the 2020 race have ranked O'Rourke in the top tier out of more than a dozen possible Democratic contenders. This includes Vice President Joe Biden, who hasn't said whether he'll run, and Senator Bernie Sanders, who announced his candidacy last month. Also in the US, the alleged leader of New York's Gambino crime family, Frank Cali, has been killed outside his home. Police say Cali was shot several times by an unidentified driver on Wednesday evening. He later died in hospital. The Gambinos are said to be one of 5 Italian U.S. mafia families in New York. Cali was 53. And finally, when the Syrian Trade Ministry announced job openings for truck drivers, they were surprised to see how many women applied. They were inundated with applications from female candidates, and now there's an equal split of male and female drivers.
I love driving. I encourage every woman, especially at this time when women are working in all fields of life. They have become engineers, doctors, teachers, and also fighters in the war. So there's no problem for them to be next to men and be drivers. Whoever wants to marry me should have a different personality, because I'm doing something for the first time, something that is socially rejected. But I can tell you that 90% of people are backing this, women driving trucks. 90% would encourage women to drive.
And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thanks a lot, Joyce. Well, let's skip over now to some sports. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Ijoma. The Special Olympics team Nigeria will be in action tomorrow in the unified 7-a-side male mixed football event at the Zayed Sports City in the United Arab Emirates. Now, the Nigerian side will take on the host, the UAE, in Group 1. Special Olympics Slovenia and Special Olympics Chile will also feature in the same Group 1. Meanwhile, the Special Olympics Oman team couldn't have asked for a better start to its World Games journey after beating Rwanda 8-0 earlier today. A total of 14 unified sides are playing in the World Games 11-a-side football competition spread over 4 pools. The Nigeria Rugby Football Federation and the Ghana Rugby Football Union have announced the creation of an annual President's Cup that will be played on a home and away basis. The first President's Cup will be played this year between 2 president teams of the rugby nations on April the 27th in Accra and on May the 4th in Lagos. The 2019 President's Cup will also form part of the preparations of Ghana and Nigeria for the 2019 Rugby Africa Silver Cup. Olivier Giroud scored a hat-trick as Chelsea thrashed Dynamo Kiev to move into the Europa League quarter-finals with an 8-0 aggregate victory. The last gap, Guedes' strike sent Valencia through to the last 8. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, the Gabonese, scored twice as Arsenal eased into the last 8 with an emphatic victory over French side Rennes. Eintracht Frankfurt moved into the quarter-final with a 1-0 win over Internazionale. Villarreal defeated Zenit St. Petersburg to progress into the quarter-final 5-1 on aggregate. Man United may have to reverse their Champions League quarter-final fixtures to accommodate neighbours Manchester City, or the pair joined fellow Premier League sides Liverpool and Tottenham in Friday's draw in Nyon, Switzerland, where the route to the Madrid finale will be decided. And that's a wrap on sports news. The news at 10 continues shortly.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The Independent National Electoral Commission today presented certificate of return to elected members of the House of Representatives and Senators at the International Conference Centre in Abuja. Well, that's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. But just before we go, on a programming note, we'll be bringing you the detailed presentation ceremony by INEC for the lawmakers that received their certificates of return today. And that will come up immediately after the news at 10. And do look out for it, because we'll be streaming it across all our platforms immediately after the news at 10. Thanks a lot for watching, and good night.